everybody, welcome to Woodcraft Revival, where we talk about all things wood. Today we're working on our timber frame project that we're featuring over on Red Toolhouse. But in this video I want to talk about in detail how I here isolate the heart of the log in order to make the most stable post or beam or timber frame component. So let's get into that discussion here, and I'll explain what we're doing as we go along and do it. So as with most timber frames, we're working with green wood. So stability, movement, all of that stuff is a concern. The best way to promote the most stability in a timber frame component is to isolate the heart. So the heart right there, of course, we want in the dead center of that ideally. Closer the better. It's like darts. So 6 by 8, we want to get out of this, but I want to make sure that heart's in the center. Well, how do we do that? Because the heart on one end is higher or lower than the heart on the other. So we have to do some measurements and adjust the log before we make our first cut. So to give me a clean look at the heart, I'm going to go ahead and cut off my wedge. This is the part obviously I used to fell the tree. Actually, this is one I hadn't hung, so I actually have another cut on this backside. But I know I still have 14 feet is still about right here. So I'm just going to cut some of this off so I can get a clean shot, clean look at it. A little bit of inclusions there. Well, I got some metal in it somewhere. All right, so this makes it challenging because of any tree that grows on slope in West Virginia, the heart's not necessarily in the center of the tree. So we are about 13 3/4 diameter that direction, 13 1/2 that way. The heart is just under 6 1/2 that direction, and 7 3/8 that direction. We're right at 6 even from the bottom, and 7 3/8 from the top. So while it's off a bit, it's not super dramatic. But I can't just take that measurement and assume that this is truly 6 inches from the bottom. It'd be pretty close, but sometimes the logs taper and they're going to drop below my bunk spread here on my mill. So one thing you can do easily, so since this is the butt end of the log, it's the bigger portion, and since my toe board's on that end, that's the end I can manipulate. So I have to use this as my reference. This has to be my base. So I could just simply say, well, that's 6 inches from the bottom, but that wouldn't be 100% accurate all the time. Probably will be. One easy way I can do is just take a straight edge, knowing that this is the top of my rail, so this is the reference for my scale, and measure and say, yeah, okay, yeah, it's off maybe 1/8 of an inch, so it's 6 inches from the bottom. So that means 6 inches from the bottom, I can get an idea of how high it'll be from the top when I make my first cut. So 6 inches from the bottom is what we established. Now we need to go to the other end and see if it's higher or lower. So I can see this end's actually tapering down below it's going down below my bunk there. So when I measure it, my straight edge, let's get my straight edge of it. So I'm getting 5 1/2. Now in a 6 by 8 timber, that's not going to be a huge deal, but for the sake of doing what we're supposed to, I need to raise that heart up to 6. So I need to raise this log about 1/2 inch. So I made this scissor jack toe board quite a few years ago. I'll link to it. Somebody needs to not be afraid of the grease. All right, so right at 6, good to go there. So now when I make a cut, you may think, well, wait a minute, what does that have to do with the top cut? Well, we know that we're parallel to the frame, and if the heart is 6 inches up on both ends, no matter where we make that top cut, the distance from our top cut to this heart will be the same, as long as our mill's set up properly. So if we wanted to get real fancy and accurate, which I doubt that I'm that fancy nor accurate, we know we want 8 or 6 dimensions. So we could look and say, can I get 4 on either side of this? 4 probably. What was my bigger diameter? It was bigger, wider than it was taller, I believe. So 11, 10, 3/4, yeah. So I really want to go with my 8 this way. So this first cut, I want to try to get my 6 out of that. So I can say, well, if I do this right in one clean pass, then I should be taking a 3 out of there. So I should have 3 there and 3 there, which would give me my 6. We'll see. This is the smaller end of the log, and to take that much of a slab off, or flitch, then maybe too big. I want to chip all this stuff up as well. All right, so I made a strong pencil mark there at the top of the 3 inches. 3 inches from the top dart, so the 12 o'clock position. So I'm going to lower my blade down and see where that is on my scale. So that puts me exactly at 9. So if I'm cutting this correctly, this should be 9 as well. There we go. Right at the top of my pencil mark, that's 3 inches. So this will be our last cut on this side. We should have an exit wound right there. Now I've turned the log 180 degrees, and I could just make my cut at 6, be one cut, and we'd be ready to go on to the other dimension. Probably going to be some waste in that, so we'll work our way down to 6 and see if there's any material in here. These 2 slabs that I've taken off, we'll put those back on when we turn 90 degrees, and we'll true those up, and we'll use these for boards for other projects. Okay, so now let's measure what we got here. 6 on the nose. See if we run out any. Hmm. 5 7/8. So we do run out a little bit. What does that mean? Nah. A little bit of run out in this bed, I believe. What means this? It means the log was up a little higher, so it cut in. Interesting. So we'll have to check that when we roll it. Okay, so not only with a timber frame timber, not only do we want the log to be have the heart centered in the beam or the post, whichever one we're doing, we also want it to be square, as square as possible. That way the guy doing the timber frame joiner, he doesn't lose his ever-loving mind. And there's 2 ways we can check for square. So if you take the square, put it on the bunk, okay, gotta go back a little bit more. Pretty darn good there. Yep. That's the way I like to do it. And now we'll dog it down. Another way of doing it would be just to put our square here on our cut and bring it up to our blade. Let's see. Yep, that's really nice. That would be another way to test square. So we have a similar process here. We want to just see where the heart is, relation 6 1/2. So we'll go to the other end. Okay, so let's see where we are on this end. So the heart is at 7. So actually the log needs to go down. Why is the log up? Oh, I see. We got a bit of a fish belly. So in that situation where I don't have a toe board on the other end, then I'm just going to have to deal with it. So I'm not going to turn the log around. So I'm just going to have that heart 1/2 inch out of center, which should be okay in a 6x8. All right, so let's see what we ended up with. 5 7/8 by 7 3/4. I'm losing it on that end. Six by 8. Where's my bed? Well, the bed's going down, so should the mill. Ended up with just a little bit of wane. It was because of that dog leg, I believe. That little, just the tiniest bit of bark on that, which will be fine. And you saw me there with a square, just a cat's whisker out of square. So I gotta adjust that as well, see what's going on there. All right, so here's my second 15 footer. Gonna do the same thing. Need a 6x8, 14 feet long, hopefully with minimal or zero wane in it. We'll see how it goes, but gonna do the same thing. Got to check the heart position, lift if we need to. This is the butt end, that's the taper end. So let me get my straight edge. This heart's a little easier to identify, kind of like X marks the spot. That's right at 7. Let me go on the inside just to make sure. Yep. Maybe 6 7/8. 6 7/8. Let's check the other. Yeah, so that's about 5 3/8. We ain't even gonna be able to get a 6x8 out of that. Ooh, that's gonna be close. It's an 8x10. It's gonna be tight. Tight! 6 1/2. There we go. All right, so there's the second one. So I had a interesting situation with this. That's one of the things with poplar. They like to move a little bit. So when I was doing my first cut, you could see daylight under the entire log except for the first and last bunk. And so I thought, okay, did I mess up with a cut there? No. Just got a smiley face to it, or a frowny face actually. But we're nice and square. The problem is we've got a lot of wane right here, considerable amount. Now this is cross beam, so it is just going to hold the roof. So it's obviously massively over-engineered for a 10-foot span. I can obviously alter the plans. I don't want to do that. I think what I can do, if rafters are going to go this way across the top, then I can just either let that be the seat there, or I can turn it 180 degrees. If this is the back, so this is the front of the shed's going this way, so this is the back wall of the shed, then this would be underneath and would not be would not come into play. The only thing is it's be sitting on a 6x6, so you'd see this missing portion on the 6x6. Whereas if this was up on the rafter, you wouldn't see it at all unless you walked to the end and looked. And 15 feet, so let's see how much of that gets cut away anyway. We just need 14. So yeah, I'm only cutting off about 9 inches. Well, I'm going to keep it for now. If I don't like it, I can put it back on the mill and cut it down for 6x6s. Do I even have 6 in that? Yeah, I'd have a little bit of wane. I got my heart off centered too because of that frowny face. I was trying to isolate or trying to take it back out, so I took more off of this side than I should have. So we'll see. That definitely confounded me. Well, so if I had to give myself a score or passing grade, I'd say, yeah, I think I passed on test number 1. Oh, I bit my tape measure. But on log number 1, 8-inch, heart is right at 4 inches. On the 6-inch side, the heart is right at 3 inches, maybe just an eighth under. On this turkey, 6-inch, heart's at 3. On this side, on the 8-inch side, heart's about 3.5. So missed it by about a ½ inch. What I'm going to do tomorrow, because I'm running out of time tonight, is I'll come back down and anchor seal these. I've got a brand new gallon of anchor seal. That'll seal up the ends of these, so as they dry out, of course, it won't check as much. Poplar's still going to check quite a bit. And then ideally, what I need to do is keep weight on these, but let air flow and keep the sun off. So probably need to make some sort of tarp system that doesn't completely encase the rack here, allows airflow to come through, but keeps the sun off of it. That's the big point. That's why I laid these boards on here flat. It may cause, well, definitely going to cause some mold to build up on it. But if I come down tomorrow and put some stickers in between it, it may keep it from molding too much. And we'll figure out what we can do as far as a cover. So why go through all the trouble of isolating a heart? Well, as I mentioned, it just keeps the beam, the post stable as much as possible. It keeps it from taking off. And the reason why is that core wood is juvenile wood. It has the least amount of strength to it. The outside rings, they have all the strength. So if that core was somewhere near the edge, then there's a chance that all that stuff starts to move that way because there's just no integrity. It's like building a box with one side of the box weak. It's just going to cause, as it dries out, that cellular structure starts to become rigid, and it could just cause it to go all kinds of ways. So ideally, having the dead center, you got an equal amount of material, solid, good material around it, less likely to move around. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the box stores like that, and you find 4x4s and 6x6s, usually you'll see the heart isolated. And you'll say, yeah, Troy, but they're rocking chair rails. Yeah, so it doesn't always work. And that material, I think it grows, that's southern yellow pine, I think it grows, matures in like 2.5 days. Growth rings are pretty wide on that. It gets around town quick. But I'll keep milling and keep bringing you all along. And as I always say, I hope you find time to get outside in God's beautiful creation. We'll see you soon.